Howdy y'all, World Wide Web. I'm Decker Shado, the rootinest, tootinest personality with the best hair. Why in the hell is everything all west all of a sudden? Fuck if I know, that's just how the movie was written. This week we're looking at Tremors 4, The Legend Begins. Along with being a monster movie about giant man-eating worms, someone at Universal thought that it needed some western flair. They accomplished this by making the movie a prequel to the entire Tremors franchise, taking place a little over 100 years before the events of any of the movies. But that's not to say it's completely different, as the movie takes place in the same location as the first and third films, and quite a few characters are callbacks to those from the first movie, and then some. So that's the whole damn synopsis. It's Old West Tremors. Anyway, let's take a look at Tremors 4 and... whose idea is it to do this kind of shit? Seriously, why do horror movies do this? Old West of the fucking horror. What? What's next? Sci-fi Tremors? What? Anyway, the film tells us straight away it's set in 1889, 1 year before the 11th US Census showed there was pretty much no frontier left in the nation, so technically still Wild West, at the bottom dollar mine in Nevada. Here we meet Juan Padilla, played by Brent Rome, and his friend and mining partner, Victim Number 1. Even he wasn't that impressed by that. He didn't sound scared at all, just mildly inconvenienced. Unlike Victim Number 2, who gets much more into it, along with the help of the soundtrack. Though it seems to me that he would have had a much better excuse for not screaming so much. Hearing Juan's screams of terror, the rest of the miners rush to his aid, and are promptly killed while doing so. With the sudden, horrifying deaths of most of the workforce, the mine is closed in a hurry, which leads to the vast majority of settlers in the valley packing up and leaving, with only a few staying behind, such as Pyongyang Chang and his son Fu Yen, played by Ming Lo and Sam Lee.
Maybe we need a different name.
Perhaps it was not the best choice, huh?
But it did get more votes than Polio Palace, so what are you gonna do? They're not the only two staying behind, though. We've also got Christine Lord, the innkeeper, played by Sarah Botsford, August Schellenberg as the friendly neighborhood native Takopa, and Pyonglin's wife Lu Wan, played by Lydia Luke.
What does I Ching say?
Expect the arrival of great conqueror.
I like these sticks. They make things sound all big and important, but are so vague it could be anyone from Vladimir Putin to Billy Mays. Old Fred, played by J.E. Freeman, notes that there's no way the mine will stay closed as the silver ore was ridiculously rich.
Well, if you saw what I saw, you might walk away.
You never really told us what you saw.
I saw nothing.
Which is why I am still here in town. Well, it's very hard to find a good pair of eyeglasses in this age. None of that is particularly important anyway. They've got a message over the wire from the owner of the mine. The big problem is, of course, the low profit predictions, so he has opted to come down all the way from Philadelphia. As the last stagecoach approaches, and the townspeople get acquainted with his impressive pile of shit, they still can't quite figure out where he is. I think we should tell him the town's on this side. I think I'll notice if I take off his stuff.
Mr. Haidam Guma?
I am he.
Which introduces our big star for this movie, Gummer, played by Michael Gross. Again. How the fuck? Well, he's not Bert this time, but Bert's ancestor, Hiram. This tells me if they do go the sci-fi route, they'll either do it Hellraiser Bloodline style with a descendant, or just go full alien resurrection and clone his ass. Anyhow, he requests to speak with Andrew Beckwith at once.
That might prove to be a little difficult.
Why, where is he?
On that. The last stage out of here.
What?
Oh, it's okay, Gummer. I didn't even know where the fuck that was supposed to be. It might have helped to establish that first. As it turns out, he's come all the way down here and didn't even know that the mine was closed down in the first place.
I feel I've not been privy to critical, most needful information.
I don't know if I should like that reference or cringe at how it just got shoehorned in there.
17 miners were killed in one day. The workers abandoned it.
17? What on earth happened?
No one knows.
Must you speak in riddles?
Riddles? What the fuck are you talking about? Is this how you conduct yourself back in Philly? How much for a cheesesteak, lad? 10 cents. Stop trying to confuse me with your word salad! As there's not much you can do about this problem just yet, Gummer takes the tour of pre-perfection perfection, with Christine pointing out that absolutely anyone of use has already left the town, so don't go looking for any characters beyond those already introduced. No bother, as he gets quite an eyeful of her own goods.
An impressive arse.
Now please, do back it up. Gyrate what your matriarch bestowed. Or he was talking about her guns, and this is all it means to have Gummer dismiss her wishes for daily payments in favor of keeping a running tab. After more character development showing that Harem is a silver spoon-up-his-ass prick, we finally move on to having Kwan explain what he saw. Nothing! But that doesn't mean they can't pull ideas out of their collective asses.
My ancestors talked of spirit beasts that live inside those mountains.
Spirit beasts.
Beasts from the underworld.
It was like Yokai Watch, only much more deadly. In any case, there's still a small group of potential workers camping nearby. With that in mind, Gummer and Wan head out in the morning. Yet the next day, to hire their help in investigating the mine for whatever horror cost the lives of so many before.
Well, in you go.
And what?
And report back to me.
Seriously, do you not see the grayed out question mark floating over my head? Thing is, even for potentially good pay, these guys don't feel like heading off into the dungeon of near certain death alone. Therefore, Gummer agrees to head in there with him. Inside, they find the horrifying remains of several of the miners. But on the plus side, there's no sign of whatever the fuck killed them all.
Gentlemen, I declare this mine perfectly safe.
Dang right. Ain't nothing in there but ghosts.
17 plus people killed, and you found nothing, and Juan saw nothing. This makes it safe how? Who cares about a massive fatality rate? Gummer says it's fine, so it's fine! But as each day has been surprisingly short, this one is no exception, and heading out to the mine first thing in the morning somehow means that it's nearly night by the time they finish touring the place. This gives us the chance to watch the group make camp and exposit some character traits. Turns out Juan is Miguel's ancestor, but he's just a poor miner, and it is his dream to one day have a ranch. Also, things just so happen to not be safe.
What on earth?
Well, either God smacked the accordion out of the man's hand, or there are some horrible subterranean monsters trying to kill you. This actually introduces a stage in the creature's life that we never saw before, graboid hatchlings. They're small, fast, deadly, murderous, but so damn cute. Strangely, none of these Old West types can aim a gun to save their life, which ironically is exactly what they're trying to do here. This means despite being armed to the teeth, abso-fucking-lutely everybody is killed, except for Gummer and Juan, who figure out the creatures hunt by sound and can't dig through rock impressively fast. Of course, they don't have their horses anymore, so that's a problem.
These foothills, they're made of rock. We can walk on them almost all the way back to rejection.
Impressively convenient. Juan, lead the way. They make it back to rejection over the next transition and explain to the townsfolk the horrible monsters they found outside the mine. This does little to help things, other than having the Chang family name the creatures Dirt Dragons. Because China.
We never had them in China.
You never know what the hell they'll pull out for Tremors 6. Gummer, though, figures the only way to best the speed of the creatures is to get the Western cliché this town is missing. A quick-draw gunslinger. Thus, a telegraph is taken to find the best gunfighter in the area, who is willing to negotiate his salary.
Now send that to the Territorial Enterprise, the Denver Post, and the Wichita Eagle.
But Mr. Gummer, the Denver Post won't be founded for another 3 years.
Just send it!
Okay, it's done!
Now, we wait.
If you want to wait a little longer, you could always put an ad on the internet. In any case, it takes over a goddamn month before anything comes of this, which is not only shown in transition form, but in the fact that they spend over 5 minutes on mundane day-to-day life and rejection. At the very least, this establishes that the reason Gummer is continuing to run up a tab at Christie's Inn is because his father invested the entire family fortune into the mine before he died. This means the pile of shit he brought with him to rejection is in actuality the entirety of his worldly possessions.
Once I get the mine running, I'll pay my bill in full and be on the first stage out of here.
Unless you're willing to accept payment in silk long johns, in which case I can keep that room reserved for me for at least 3 more years. But it's about time for the super sharpshooter to make his appearance. Finally! I've been waiting out on those hills for a good thunderstorm to make my entrance. It takes a while in a desert. This would be Black Hand Kelly, played by Billy Drago, which some of you may recognize as Mannix from Convict 762. Sure, he talks a big game, but the townsfolk want some confirmation that he actually knows how to handle a gun before officially giving him the job. So he requests an apple. So remember, kids, always have a snack, such as fresh fruit, before engaging in feats of physical fortitude.
Obviously, we were expecting to see a demonstration of...
Right in the smoked sausage. I could always shoot some more phallic objects for you. What do you say?
You're hired.
Problem is, while he doesn't mind the idea of all the silver he can carry as payment, Kelly isn't going to lift a finger without something up front.
Double Eagle. A down payment.
You throw in them there cufflinks and, you got yourself a deal.
Okay, whatever you do, Grandma, don't let him know you have silk long johns. We really don't need that scene. This is enough to get him to accept their offer, and by morning, they are on the hunt. Thing is, they don't find any sign of the creatures back at the mine, except for the eggs they hatched out of them, potentially, and after quite a while traveling the countryside, still have yet to see one. However, they have found old Fred's wagon, broken in two, with old Fred nowhere to be found. That's funny. In the first movie, his head was under the hat, right? Where the hell is he? Which answers once and for all what happened to old Fred since he left frame and never returned. Thing is, this is still one of those games where a day is like 15 minutes, so the sun is setting, they must make camp yet again. Gummer obviously wants to head back to the Solid Rock to do that, but it is a few miles away. However, Juan points out that there is an abandoned station nearby that they could spend the night in very easily.
Is it safe?
Yes, there are very thick beams on the floor, you know, for the wagons. There's no way the dragons could break through them.
Wonderful. There's no way they could possibly get in there unless they're strong enough to, I don't know, rip a wagon in half? Predictably, their sleep is interrupted by horrible tentacles of death. Oh, thank God, it's only horrible monsters. I thought Gummer was slapping me with his man cane again. No bother, Kelly is here to shoot the hell out of the creatures. And the other guys are armed as well.
You said to pick something I was comfortable with.
Yeah, that joke. Old Gummer isn't a gun guy, unlike new Gummer. That's great. It's nice. Does it really have to span the entire movie, though? Oh, hell, why not make it a focus, with Kelly taking the time to train Gummer with his Colt single-action army, showing us all that he isn't any good with guns.
This is a waste of time! What do you expect?
We have to fill out the movie's running time somehow! The continued vibrations keep the dirt dragons on the offensive, though, and wouldn't you know it, they learn and modify their behavior to solve problems. This means the creatures have figured out they can rip the wooden floor out one plank at a time, slowly but surely inching closer and closer to their prey. With nowhere they can run safely to, they have an idea. Smack the crap out of the telegraph machine to get the attention of anyone out there to send help. They'd send an actual message, except none of them know Morse code. And SOS didn't become standard for 7 more years. Christine is there to hear the racket, and once they determine where the signal is coming from, she heads out to save the day. Fortunately, before the signal abruptly stops. This reveals what has happened to the cute little critters from earlier. They have grown exponentially in size into the graboids that we are all familiar with. Which everyone watching pretty much already knew, but the movie acts like it's a surprise, so... This is the point where Kelly decides to get ticked off. After all, he was hired to kill small, fast monsters, not gigantic fucking sand whales. Of course, the rest of the guys don't have to deal with his complaints for too long, as by the next morning, he's the first to go. Okay, wait, before he swallows you completely, could you throw me back my cufflinks? I really do need them. But what's this? Christine has arrived with a wagon of freedom! This allows her to reach the 2 survivors, pick them up, and escape back towards rejection.
Are they following us? I can't tell.
Well, either that or, like Alien Isolation, he's chained to your ass on a short leash no matter what you do. No bother, they get just far enough away that the creature stops pursuing, and they escape back to rejection over the rocks that the graboids cannot penetrate. With Kelly dead, and the monster so much larger, Gummer tells everyone, "Fuck it! Get the hell out of town!" because that's what he's doing. Of course, this is a movie, so horrible, painful death at the mouths of giant subterranean monsters is no reason not to be insanely stoic. Still, that doesn't mean they'll just let the man go. Christine cuts a deal where he can have the horse and supplies to leave, but only if he hands the mine over to her. This is made a bit more serious as they threaten to send telegraphs detailing the monsters that plague the region should he keep the deed in hopes of selling it elsewhere.
4-1 in favor of doing exactly that.
At least one of you has some sense of ethics.
I voted to drop you off a cliff.
No wonder talk of ethics scares the fuck out of people anymore. With that, he leaves. But this is obviously an emotionally difficult decision. Look, they even broke out the montage. Slightly more upsetting, though, is when Juan discovers that the monsters have managed to break through the impassable rock and are heading for rejection. He warns the townspeople, but of course arbitrary obstacle number 38 means they can't or won't leave, even with the ominous warning from the Sticks of Vagueness.
What did the sticks say?
Can, expect a ferocious arrival.
I'm just waiting for the day where she checks the fortune and looks up at everyone like, "Shit will happen!" As their only hope lies in calling for outside help, they send out some telegraphs. Problem is, nobody gives a fuck, but what luck! Gummer happens to be in the very same building receiving one of the telegraphs while he's purchasing a ticket back to Philadelphia.
Giant worms have left Upper Valley. May find town. Need immediate help.
Who the hell would believe in giant subterranean worms? Now let me tell you about this time that I had to hunt down a Bigfoot in Alabama. Realizing that the town he left for certain death is doomed to certain death, Gummer springs to action. To the gun store at once! That watch must have been worth an absolute shitload, as it gets him a wagon, a second horse, and enough munitions to equip a small army, including...
A 2-inch bore punt gun.
That would make it an A gauge. It's got a 2-inch bore, but a 2 bore is much smaller than that.
What is a punt gun?
Something to do with shooting ducks. Great many ducks.
In fact, so many ducks it was banned from waterfowl hunting 30 years ago. It's amazingly lucky I was able to find it so easily at a corner store just like that. Thus the plan is concocted and a trap is set for the Dirt Dragon Menace. It's simple enough, jingle shit until they show up and kill them! Problem is, they aren't showing up. So of course everyone leaves their positions, and then they show up, meaning they have to scramble back fast enough to shoot. Of course it would help if they actually hit them. Despite modern cartridges already being designed, this cannon with a trigger on it just so happens to be a muzzle loader, making preparations for a second shot more difficult than they could be. Still, these are considerate graboids who will wait their turn to be blown to shit. I know, that much lead going at that speed would have dumped so much energy into the thing. I'm pretty sure that graboid would have exploded like a watermelon getting shot by a 500 Magnum. Well, that's 1 down, 2 to go. Of course, these are the learning kind, so the second graboid just eats the fucking gun, killing that strategy. After spending a little time chasing around the townsfolk, Tecopa gets the idea to lure it away from one with a handy-dandy saw blade. Huh. I would think that such a little blade wouldn't kill him so quickly. Especially if a punt gun only left a little fucking hole in it. With one beast to go, they figure they can whip out a bomb to take it out. That's a bit too much like the rest of the movies, though, and not nearly Western enough. Therefore, the creature terrorizes the remaining townspeople far faster than they can finish a bomb. Not to worry, though, they can latch a hook onto its ass and let the town's handy-dandy steam engine take it from here. Killing the final beast and doing it with Western flair. Yeah, I personally would have predicted that he used dynamite at some point, but turns out I was wrong. Point is, happy ending! The graboids are dead, the town is saved, and the mine is ready to be reopened. The townsfolk even give it right back to Gummer with no strings attached, except the strings he insists on.
We agree never to tell anyone about the dirt dragons.
Because otherwise, the earlier movies of the franchise will get fucked up in all sorts of ways. What about the telegrams we sent? No one knows. He also gets tons of the things everyone else wants paid for and out of the way. The town gets renamed to Perfection, because, and he decides to stay. Coincidentally, in the very same spot Bert moved 2 years later. Built the same way, except without any hint that he came from a filthy rich family, but never mind all that. Gummer marries Christine, she buys him a Gatling gun, and the two live knee-deep in brass ever after. Gummer later killed everyone in Perfection Valley, and is yet to be found. Something like that, anyway. Anyhow, that was Tremors 4. Why the fuck was it a Western? That's really my main issue with this movie, as truth be told, it's put together pretty damn well. The creatures are expanded on without being expanded on, but just by showing us a much younger version of them, and the focus is on graboids without going into added infrared bipedal phases after infrared bipedal phases, which is exactly what I wanted out of a Tremors sequel. Why the fuck was it a Western? And not to say that's the only problem, as the fact is this is a prequel and they drop it in the same setting as the first with ancestral characters does mean there's quite a lot of retconning going on here. Not particularly well thought out retconning, I may say so myself. So Bert moving into Perfection a century later was just coincidence, and the fact that he was only a few generations off a filthy rich ancestor but shows absolutely no signs of great wealth in his family, it's, okay. Aside from that, the homages to previous films come off a bit strange given the setting. Honestly, the whole thing felt a lot like Sonic's Storybook series games. You know these characters, you know their references, but it's thrown into a cliché backdrop and made arbitrarily different for no discernible reason. A Western Tremors movie isn't a bad idea in and of itself, but taking characters from Tremors and splattering them with Western paint isn't the best way to go about it. Overall, Tremors 4 The Legend Begins isn't a bad movie when you get down to it. It's well-paced, the production values are good, and the acting isn't too bad. It's still really weird at times, but holds up well enough to come in at 3 giant fucking guns that I suddenly want to get out of 5. If you avoided it simply because it's a Western, for some reason, I would recommend actually going out and checking it out. You might be pleasantly surprised. Or writing an angry comment right now. Either way, thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, gun enthusiasm is hereditary, which means there is no one on Earth who does not like guns. What?
An impressive arsenal.
Calm down, guys. I'm pretty... Fucking dogs. Fucking dogs! Wonderful. There's no way they could pop... Fucking dog! Oh. Oy. Dogs. I have so many dogs. They are annoying dogs, but I love them. But they're dogs. I'm singing about dogs 'cause they're still barking, but now the UPS man's gone. Maybe I can continue reading my script, but I like this song. It's gonna go at the end of the credits. No, that's wrong.